Hello and welcome to the second series of 3 lessons from Breakthrough Leaders with me, Zana Ryabchik, CEO at Breakthrough Global.
And with me, Bart Sale, founder of Breakthrough Global, where we've spent the past 30 years developing the Breakthrough methodology to help transform companies and people looking to reach their highest level.
And this podcast is all about giving you insider tips and the know-how from the world's foremost leaders and creative talents, distilling their knowledge and experience into 3 lessons, which we guarantee will help you and your companies to unleash your potential. And you can get in touch with us at bartsale@breakthroughglobal.com to find out more. In today's podcast, we'll hear from Pierre Laubies. Pierre is an accomplished CEO in the consumer brand space and an experienced board director. His career spans multiple global companies, and he's acquired a strong reputation as a transformative leader focused on fundamentals and systemic change. He's recognised for his international mindset as well as his ability to consistently focus on teams' alignment and engagement. Today, we'll learn these 3 lessons. The importance of business mastery.
There is no shortcut to success. When it happens, it's a miracle. And the thing I know about miracles, that they are super infrequent. I prefer to bet on things which are predictable, frequent, and on which our chance of achievement is in the 90%.
Why Playbook culture succeeds.
If we want to grow this business or improve its profitability, what are the things that need to be different in 3 years' time from now? And how are we going to organize to get it?
Inspiring greatness in leadership.
Leadership is about importing stress and exporting energy. A constructive energy that people say, yes, that I can do. And if I do that, or once I've done that, I will get this result.
I've known Pierre for over 2 decades. We first met back in 2000 with Campbell Soups. And then I think every time that Pierre has moved to a new assignment and a new company, he's brought us along because he says we are part of his playbook.
And today we're going to be talking a lot about his playbooks. I mean, a shameless plug I always use, and I hope I use that word carefully. Pierre doesn't mind me doing this, but often when I'm pitching to new clients, actually, I always quote Pierre. And I quote him saying, I have a CEO that we've worked with many, many times. And he says, he'll get an on-paper strategy. He'll often use a certain consultancy and some certain people within that consultancy to write the strategy for him. But then he brings in Breakthrough to bring that strategy alive, to take it off the page and get people to own it and believe in it and drive it and execute it with excellence. I should probably start paying him royalties for it because I've been using that. I've been dining on that for a very, very, very long time. But it's absolutely true. It is what we do. And it's why he loves what we do and why we love working with him as well.
I think that also shows the way Pierre, and we'll find out in this podcast, he has a very systematic and systemic way of working that he's honed over the years. Until now, it's just predictably successful.
So, what are today's lessons from Pierre?
Lesson 1, master the laws of your business.
I'm a big proponent of one-liner. And I think the first law of business that I've observed is that success is 5% inspiration, 95% perspiration. And you need to stay consistent. If you trust when you have the proof that your analysis is correct, and once you have laid on your plan to close the gaps that you have seeing in front of you, whatever is that gap, it can be a cost gap, it can be a price gap, it can be an advertising gap, it can be close these gaps, right? Then you stick with it for a consistent effort. And I mean, Bill Gates used to say, most of us overestimate what they can do in 1 year and underestimate what they can do in 10 years. We all have the tendency to seek for shortcut to success. There is no shortcut to success. It doesn't exist. When it happens, it's a miracle. And the thing I know about miracles, that they are super infrequent. So I prefer to bet on things which are predictable, frequent, and on which my degree or chance of achievement is in the 90%. And for that, again, I keep coming back to master the law of your business. Once we understand how things need to be done, then we can focus on what is fundamental. In business, there are three things which matter: the why, the how, and the what. Right? The why is, why does the company exist? If the company has no reason to exist, it's a problem. Right? And because at the end of the day, people say, why would I go there? Why would I go and work there? And so it's very important to have, I would call it, a nobler mission, an understanding of what is the role, the social role that this company plays in the marketplace. It doesn't need to be dramatically different from the competition. I mean, most of the people who manufacture cars to provide the same service to people. So it's like, and most of the people who do pet food kind of think the same way of why they are in business for. But inherently embed it into the philosophy of the company and making sure that your mission is clear and is understood and people know why they come up to work in the morning is quite a fundamental task. It doesn't take a lot of time to do or to find out, but once it is there, it's very important to repeat, and repeat it again, right? So that eventually all the tasks, all the decisions that people will make will be informed by this vision. The second thing which we have in the business is, the second most important thing in the business is the what. If I want to sell more of this product, I need to do something with it. I can change the price, I can change the color, I can change the taste if it is food, I can do something. That's really where the difference is being made. That's where we should spend 90% of our time, 95% of our time. And the third thing which is important is the how. And when you don't have a playbook culture, and in the playbook, for instance, in our world, we define how you build a brand at scale. What is the path that you need to take? What is the media plan need to be made of? What is the brand? What are its distinctive assets? What is a distinctive asset? Certain number of parameters like that. If your organization does not master this how, it will keep repeating time and time again the same mistake. The truth is 95% of the people who turn up to the office mean well. They want to succeed. They want to be achievers. They want to perform. But left to their own devices, they will make up stuff, right, on how to perform. And you don't want that because you want their energy to be really channeled towards what has the highest chance of result. And this is why it's very important to make sure that these people or your employees, your associates, master the laws of your industry. And I see it as the undelegatable task of the leadership of a company to embed this knowledge into the company and to make the effort at the beginning to make sure that everybody masters this law. Like you're not going to give a 747 to take off with 500 passengers on board and with an itinerary from Frankfurt to New York to an amateur. You will want that person to be super knowledgeable, right? Well, that's the same for everything. And once I always had this philosophical approach of it, but once I'd found the ecosystem around me to enable me to find out what we needed to do and structure to the people of the organization how to do it intellectually and emotionally, then we realized that we could really accelerate the transformation.
What Pierre has identified here is something that we come across very, very frequently, which is the painful reality that there is no quick fix, there's no silver bullet to transformation. And actually, we need to take a long-term approach. We need to repeat again, and build our discipline, don't we, Bart?
It's all about discipline. And as Pierre says, it's consistency and a commitment to take a longer term approach and go through the ups and downs, but success will follow. It does require hard work, and some of that work may seem boring. I've heard Pierre in the past say that the best work comes from being brilliantly boring.
So our tip to keep people motivated when they're enduring the 95% perspiration is that you've got to celebrate the quick wins. We would call this gossiping success. This isn't about celebrating things that simply aren't working. It's not spin, but you really need to ensure that you are motivating people, inspiring them, and driving them to succeed by realizing they're part of a winning team. That's critical to keeping people on the journey with you when you're working on a long-term approach.
Lesson 2, build your playbook culture.
When you decide to turn around a company, one of the key playbook is to respect the first law of navigation. And the first law of navigation, which I remember learning from you, Bart, is to know where you are. And the second rule of navigation is to know where you want to go. And the third rule of navigation is to take check every day of where you are, right? And avoid the 1 degree drift. The other element of the playbook is to be really super objective about the point of departure. Point of departure, define your options. Where are you? Are you a leader? Are you a challenger? Are you on a high-end business? Are you on a low-end business? Is all of your business the same? Or do you have like different market position? And understanding that is absolutely vital. Clearly having, and that's the third part of the playbook, for me, I do work in consumer goods. I think each industry has its laws, and understanding them, socializing them, and making sure that you have a critical mass of the organization who not only understand these laws, but understand the value of adhering to them. Right? It may sound obvious, but that can be the case, that people know something, but they don't apply it. Right? And at the beginning of any transformation, the time that you invest at that moment is time that you will save after. And you will be able to go in a true acceleration when you get this critical mass of action, which are all congruent, go all in the same direction, and self-reinforce each other.
One of the things over my experience with Breakthrough, one of the things that has happened with nearly every company I've worked with is this wanting to rush into the how. There's a big difference between hurry up and pace.
One of the first things I love doing is when I start a new project with a new company is look at the innovation pipeline and just ask the people, say, this is the protocol to validate this innovation. That's how we are going to validate this innovation. 2 months later, they come back and we can kill 90% of the projects. This gives us an amazing resource. It gives us people and time. We are going to take off. We are going to create air in the system. And we are going to focus on, okay, what is it, if we want to grow this business or improve its profitability, what are the things that need to be substantially different in 3 years' time from now? And how are we going to organize to get it? If we say, okay, we're operating only on one market, but at the same time, there are 3 other markets available where we are not participating. If we go and participate there, we will grow our business. Or if we are operating in this market partition, but we are only operating in mainstream and premium is developing, then we will launch a premium product and we'll work on that. And as we work on that, we know the rules of the game, we will win, or we will be able to take our fair share. And people find that incredibly liberating. In one of my recent companies, I mean, we did exactly the same exercise. We cleaned the innovation pipeline. The success rate of the innovation pipeline was around 30%, 33%. And we, at the end of the day, clean everything, reduce the size of the pipeline quite drastically, but we ended up with 75% success rate. And the morale of everybody increases. And then you can take a big further risk at a later stage because you know that you have win carrying you, you have created win in your sales by doing that.
Very early in my career at Breakthrough, I was very lucky that on one of our programs with Pierre, I started to learn about this system, this process of using playbooks in the way that he implements them in organizations and how effective it is. One of the main things that they help to eradicate is what we call at Breakthrough failure work. There's two types of failure work. The first type of failure work is all of the work that never needed to be done in the first place. And there's a huge amount of tasks and activities that go on in the world every single day that simply didn't need to be done. And the second type of failure work is all of the work that wasn't done to the right standard or was done incorrectly the first time, and that we have to do it again. All the projects that fail that we need to redo, all of the PowerPoint presentations that aren't right, anything where the expectation hasn't been set correctly or we haven't delivered to the right standard. And really what playbooks do is they help to eradicate those two very big buckets of waste.
Our recommendation here is that you as a leader start with yourself, go back into your organization and look at it with fresh eyes and look where you're involved in failure work, because we can guarantee there will be failure work there, and start to eradicate that. You'll see the bonus of doing that immediately. Lesson 3, inspire greatness in your talent. One of the things I've admired in you and with you is your leadership. So where did you first realize that you were a leader, that your leadership was powerful and that you could bring other people on?
I'm not too sure you realize it. I think that my intuition on that one is that you do best what you like doing. The first step of my careers were not the step of career which would lead me to be CEO one day. I mean, I started to work in finance. Actually, I started my life in a bit of how do you call that, unlikely place. And I was born in Morocco, and my parents had been living 30 years in Morocco. And when Morocco gained autonomy, I think in the late 50s, my whole family was living in Morocco. It just exploded. My uncle went to the US, and my mother and my dad went to a little island, which was called La Réunion, near Mauritius, midway between Madagascar and Mauritius. And I did spend 17 years of my life there. And when you live on such a tiny place, and where you kind of, the only one thing you see are either mountains or ocean, your definition of the world gets a bit deformed, and you kind of have no idea about what is the size of the rest. And I thought it was a perfectly living life, and of course the opportunities were kind of limited. So I myself, or I'd planned my destiny to be the manager of the local swimming pool, and that was my objective in life. I thought that was a great life. And unfortunately, around the age of 17, my mother came to us and said, I've made a decision, we are all relocating to France. And I guess that I gave up with the dream of being the manager of the local swimming pool and just get on with life. And actually, it was, with hindsight, it was probably the best thing which could have happened to me. Different horizons. And I had a chance, I have to say, to work in an ecosystem and to join Mars Incorporated. And I think Mars was really a talent generation machine. And maybe that's the benefit of being a private company. But they are really focused on giving people chances, but also giving them. I was hired by the French pet care business of Mars as a finance management controller in 1985, and in 1990 I was European finance vice president. So like even I was surprised by that. Like I couldn't. It was very very fast. But actually, I realized that that was not exactly what I wanted to do. I just wanted to be. My objective was to be general manager of a business. I didn't want to be CEO. I just wanted to be general manager of a business. So, and I remember talking to my colleague who was running the French business, a British, an Englishman, fantastic person. He sat with me one day at a cafeteria in Germany, and he said to me, "So how are you doing?" I said, "Oh, kind of. Yeah, it's a great job, but I mean, I'm not too sure. I'm done for that." He said, "What would you like to do?" I said, "I really would like your job." And and he said, "Well, I can make that happen. Like, but you can do it, but for that, you need to take a big line management job because you have been working on finance and the maximum number of people that you have been doing have been 7 people. I've been managing, have been 7 people. I want you to really manage a large population." I said, "Okay, that sounds like interesting approach." And say, "What do you have in mind?" He said, "You can be either a plant manager or you can be a sales director." I'll take the sales. Right? So I became a sales director. And then that's where I realized that there was a lot of logic in sales. You need to prepare the speech and this sort of thing, but it's actually when you work on the masses, when you have a business, which is like we had at the time, I think in France we had like 40% penetration of our product in the French household, or 30% penetration in the French household. That's 15 million households. You don't need to know their name and address, right? What you just do you need to do the right thing for the largest number of people, right? And it's when you have this relatively statistical approach or mathematical approach, it's kind of liberating because you see opportunities sitting in front of you. But at the same time, for whatever, because I was logical, I just say, okay, it seems that distribution is the number one driver of performance. And so can we look in the current business that we have at the products which are selling well, but don't have maximum distribution? And I sat with one of my key account person and I said to her, "Please make me the list of all these SKU of this company with the rate of sales and in front of the line, the point of distribution." And she came back 24 hours later. And we discovered that the number 3 SKUs of the company had 20% distribution, the number 6 had 10% distribution, the number 8 had 5% distribution, and these things like rotating like crazy. So we say, okay, on top of what we do, we'll do that too. And the business moved from 3% growth to 10% growth. And it was all logical. So that's kind of, to come back to your question, it's a long answer about, but to come back to your question, I think leadership is really, you provide something which is really important for the motivation of people. You take the stress out. Leadership is about importing stress and exporting energy. And they're not exporting crazy energy. It's exporting a constructive energy that people say, yes, that I can do. And if I do that, once I've done that, I will get this result. Everybody wants that. Who doesn't want that? People want to succeed. And for that, you need to give them the rules of the game. The most, I would call it, the way a leader can create most damage is to provide a plan or a vision without a plan and a planning.
I mean, you remind me of something I read a while ago, and one of the first sort of entrepreneurs in the computer industry in California, and he'd been brought up on, I think, what used to be called Theory X, Management Theory X, which is that, you know, people work for money. That's about it. And that's how you motivate them. And he didn't believe this, but one of the things that he did, he started to make the first computers, and he brought in a sort of an assembly line model. But what he noticed is that people in the middle of the assembly line were much less happy than people at the end of the assembly line. And so he wanted to check it out. So he went to some car companies and checked it out, the same thing. And what he realized is, because, you know, the assembly line was a great invention for Ford and so on, but basically he was treating people as machines. And the people in the middle of the assembly line, they never saw a finished product. And so they never got that feeling of accomplishment. So what he did is he got rid of his assembly lines and he put together 7 and 8 member teams. And the team was responsible for producing everything. And all of a sudden, people far more motivated. You know, he brought in a lot of things that now people are talking about. So he brought in share options for them, bonuses, and so on. And before long, he had a system going which wasn't a machine, it was people.
Yeah, and I think that to capitalize on this point about, like, at the end of the day, we have element of satisfaction and element of motivation. A good salary, a nice car, stuff like that. These are elements of satisfaction, and they are important. If they are not there, it's a problem. But it's not enough. People who want to participate and want to operate in a place where they learn and grow, they feel, as you just said, successful. They feel they are winning. Again, I keep coming back to this point of view, which is that really the role of leadership is to establish this, make sure that this company has this operating system and masters it. You and I, when we prepared with Zana this conversation, I was making reference between the Japanese car industry and the American car industry. I mean, despite all our effort, because the Japanese had the Kanban model, the just-in-time model, had explained it to the shop floor level of the factory, and people mastered it at the shop floor level of the factory, they could defeat the American car industry. For me, that was, before going to Mars, I was working in the car industry, and that was a very profound understanding I had at the time that actually you really need to make sure that the entire system gets it.
Pierre was speaking here about something that's very close to my heart and all of us at Breakthrough, which is the enormous amounts of stress that we see leaders create. And actually, it's a leader's job, it's a leader's duty and role and duty of care to take that stress out of the system, to enable people to perform at their best. And you need to ask yourself, as a leader, are you creating more stress than you're taking out of that system? Are there too many priorities in your organization? Is there lots and lots of activity? Is there a sense of chaos? And if so, how can you put more clarity into that chaos and simplify the space so that people are able to perform at their highest level? All right, so this is the part in the 3 Lessons from Breakthrough Leaders podcast where we ask you your hot seat questions. Pierre, are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Born ready.
Born ready.
What inspires you in life?
Honestly, our world. I've been traveling a lot, and by background, I come from a family of nomads. And so I've been traveling a lot, but I have to say that I think we are lucky to have this planet. Really, and the people on it too. And I think that I visited, there are 195 countries in the world. I'm up to 79. So I'm far from being done. And I intend to dedicate the rest of my life to do just that. I think we are surrounded by beauty. We are surrounded by beauty. We are surrounded by amazing people, amazing cultures. Of course, I won't be able to go everywhere because not everything is open. And so I kind of have crossed North Korea for a while. But deep down, I think, again, people mean well. We all live in beautiful environment, and we all live in beautiful countries. And discovering of them is one of the key passion I have.
Finish this sentence. Success is
5% inspiration, 95% perspiration.
Yes. And if you could only take one book to a deserted island, what would it be?
The biography of Charles de Gaulle by Max Gallo. Not because Charles de Gaulle and I have the same nose, kind of. But deep down, I mean, I'm a great admirer of Max Gallo. I don't do novels very well. I'm not really interested into hypotheses. I'm really interested into real facts. And as you would have guessed, the biography of Charles de Gaulle by Max Gallo, I think I've read it 7 times.
And Charles de Gaulle, is that somebody you inspired you?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, the obstination that he needed to have, and the belief he had is in the role of a leader. They would call them at the time a chef. It's a bit not really adequate, but somewhat the responsibility of the leader, I think, is something that which was very admirable in him. And the same in Winston Churchill, the same in Eisenhower, the same with many people today. And so being a plant manager or a shop floor worker or a sales director or a key account, we all have responsibilities. And the reward is the emotional reward is to accomplish our role and see and leave something behind us which is better than what we had when we moved in.
Pierre, this has been wonderful. So thanks again.
Yeah, loved it.
Thanks again.
Thanks again, Guy, for the opportunity.
Thank you for joining us for today's 3 lessons. Do make sure you hit the subscribe button and join us each month for 3 more lessons from breakthrough leaders.
And have you got a question or comment or want to find out more? You can email us at bartsale@breakthroughglobal.com or connect with us on LinkedIn at Breakthrough Global or on Instagram at Global Breakthrough.
We'd love to hear your own leadership stories, and we'd also love for you to share this episode on your own social media and review and rate this podcast on the player of your choice.
And so once again, thanks to our production team, Julia Scholtisova at Breakthrough Global and Robin Leeburn at Fairly Media. And of course, thank you for listening.